Good morning and welcome to the Daily Aus. It is Monday, the 13th of April. I'm Sam Koslowski.
I'm Billi FitzSimons.
It started as a festival announcement and it's ended in a government ban and a cancelled festival. It involves one rapper and the British Prime Minister. On today's podcast, we're going to take a bit of a closer look at how exactly the UK government barred Kanye West from entering the country. Before we get there though, I've got a quick message from somebody I vaguely know. Her name's Zara.
Hi, it's Zara, TDA's co-founder. When I decided to start TDA, I didn't fully understand that one of the biggest challenges of growing a media company would be algorithms. They're always changing and we have no control over them. That's why at TDA, we're always trying to build a direct relationship with you so that we don't need to rely on third parties. The best way that you can help us is by hitting follow on the podcast platform you're listening to right now and leaving us a 5-star review. Thank you so much for being part of the TDA community.
Sam, I want to start this podcast a little bit differently.
Okay.
By kind of going behind the scenes of TDA and how we decide how to cover different topics.
Yeah.
Kanye West, I would say over the past 3 years, the language that he has put out there has been highly offensive several times, what he has said publicly.
Sure.
And we've really gone on a journey at TDA about how do we cover him, because the first time I think he said something extremely anti-Semitic and it was extremely offensive to a lot of people, and we covered that. And then it kept happening and we didn't know how to cover that because we had this full conversation internally of, are we platforming him and are we just continuing to platform his very offensive opinions?
Yeah.
But then if we don't cover it, does that mean that we're just ignoring it?
And there's so many layers to this, right? I mean, you've got the layer of, do we just give somebody a platform who is saying some pretty wild and severely insulting things? Does giving that person a platform amplify those views and perspectives?
Exactly.
There's also an argument about his mental state. And his mental health. And is it right to platform somebody who's perhaps not of sound mind and saying things that they'll later regret? All of those discussions, I feel like we've been having them for kind of almost 4 or 5 years now. It is a tension. And I think for us, we always come back to that idea of what's in the public interest, what do people need to know? But also the TDA lens is what's going to come up at dinner. And what's going to come up with your friends that we want you to have an informed base from which to participate in that discussion.
Yeah.
So in some ways, actually, the group chat sometimes dictates, okay, this is now at a point where we need to cover it. Yeah. And I think that's what's happened here.
And I think here the fact that the UK has banned Kanye West from entering the country is very newsworthy. And I think for us that did cross the threshold of this isn't just something that Kanye West has said. This is a country taking action against him.
Yeah.
And so that is how we've landed on today's topic, which is about Kanye West. I'm sure most people are very familiar with him. Do you want to just give us a high level overview of who Kanye West is?
Yeah. And to your previous point, I don't think it's actually worth it spending too much time going through all the individual moments that he has released anti-Semitic or very insulting language in public. Sometimes it's been in the form of tweets on social media. Other times it's actually been songs. He released a song called Heil Hitler that had an excerpt of Adolf Hitler's speech at the end of the song. That song has now been taken down by pretty much all platforms on the internet. But yes, Kanye West is undoubtedly, simultaneously, one of the most successful musicians of the 21st century. He's just released his 12th album. He's had numerous number one hits, won, every award you can win in the music industry. He's one of the most streamed artists still every year by Spotify and Apple.
Really?
Massive audience, massive audience. I mean, he released his 12th album last week.
I didn't realize that he released an album last week.
He released an album last week. It debuted at number 3 on the Billboard charts. And around the world it's charted, including here in Australia. He has just performed 2 sold-out concerts at SoFi Stadium in LA, which is, I think, from memory, it's about 35 to 40,000 people a night. They sold out in minutes. And he's got a slate of shows around the world for the rest of the year. So this is somebody who's not a kind of, I don't think it's accurate to frame him as yesterday's musician, that's now kind
It's
of
not accurate to say that.
no, he's not there kind of striving for relevance. This is somebody who is relevant. I mean, I hear his songs at sporting games, on TV ads. It's constantly in different playlists that are auto-generated by streamers. I mean, this is somebody in the mainstream who has, over the last 4 years, I'd say, released some very, very insulting anti-Semitic comments. But then that all changed in January.
What happened in January?
So in January, he released a full-page statement in the Wall Street Journal.
Is this the apology?
Yes. So it's titled "To Those I've Hurt." And he says in this letter that his behavior and what he says about Jewish people is because of a brain injury and his bipolar disorder, a very publicized and sometimes really quite distressing to watch journey with mental health for Kanye West. He wrote in that, "I am not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love the Jewish people." Now, it is worth saying that that apology did coincide with him saying, "I'm going to be releasing a new album," which is the album that's just come out. Then a few months after that, so that apology went out in the Wall Street Journal in hard copy.
So, sorry, he released that apology as an ad in the Wall Street Journal, or the Wall Street Journal just published his statement in full?
I think he took out an advertising space in the paper and used it as a public declaration. I'm not 100% sure that he paid for it. I don't know the kind of commercial deal that sat behind that, but it wasn't framed as an op-ed. I mean, this was like a standalone. It was quite graphically different to the rest of the paper that day.
I reckon we can Google that. Hold on 2 seconds.
What I remember when it came out, while you're looking for it, is these mixed emotions from Jewish community bodies all over the world who kind of are the voices that represent communities. And on one hand, there was this sense of it was the first time that Kanye West had addressed a lot of these claims, that he was anti-Semitic and addressed his previous behavior. On the other hand, it kind of confused some of those communities because of the introduction of language around brain injury and language around bipolar disorder, and whether that kind of, gave Kanye West an excuse or a shield to hide behind. It was really split within the Jewish community itself, as well as other governments. Have you found the ad?
So, well, the Wall Street Journal calls it an advertisement.
Right, okay, so that clears that up.
What I know about advertisements is that they're not free.
Yes.
So he definitely paid for it.
Right. And, that wouldn't be nothing in terms of a financial commitment, but it's Kanye West.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has probably more money than he knows what to do with.
Hey guys, this is my friend Rosa. Say hi, Rosa.
Hi, Rosa.
She's cooking up the deep dive video that you're watching right now. Rosa, what do you want him to do?
Subscribe.
You heard the woman. Now back to the video.
And so if we go to why we're talking about this today, because that happened in January, there was then this festival.
Yeah, it's Wireless Festival in the UK.
The Wireless Festival in the UK. And they booked him in light of this new album coming out.
Yeah.
And the reason we're talking about it today is because he's no longer headlining that. So what happened?
Well, in fact, the festival itself is not going ahead. So let's go a couple of steps back here. So he releases the apology in January. In about mid-Feb, early March, Wireless Festival, which is a massive festival. So we're talking 150,000 people. So take the biggest festival in Australia, which is Beyond the Valley, that has about 40,000. So we're looking at a festival 3 to 4 times the size of Australia's biggest, not Glastonbury size, but still a major festival. They release that Kanye West is the headliner. And almost instantly there's pressure applied on the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, on festival organisers, on the UK government, on sponsors who were affiliated with the festival. And over the next couple of weeks, kind of crescendoing to last week, parts of the festival and parts of whether Kanye West could actually travel to the UK began to unravel. So you've got 2 of the major sponsors, Pepsi and PayPal. They withdrew their support from the festival. Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, called it deeply concerning that Kanye West was going to be travelling to the UK. The festival's management, they actually really for the first couple of weeks, they basically said it was really important for Kanye West to perform. And what they said was his past comments are not okay, but the festival said it wasn't just giving him a platform to talk about his views, and that West was booked to perform the songs that are currently played on the radio stations in our country. That's a quote from the festival organisers. Right. So they distanced themselves from the politics of the artist and said, we're here for the music.
Got it. But then they must have changed their views because now it's not happening.
Yeah. So Kanye West obviously was hearing all of this happen. He offered to meet with the Jewish community in the UK on this trip to the festival. And the Board of Deputies of British Jews, which is kind of the peak body representing the UK's Jewish community, it responded saying that it would only meet with him if his performance didn't go ahead. So it didn't want to justify his trip over and the performance with a meeting. It was, this is such a severe violation of human decency over many, many years that we need a meeting with this man. We want to meet with him, not as a sideshow to a performance.
But in the end, the festival was completely cancelled because, from what I know, the UK actually banned Kanye West from entering.
Yeah, it was the Home Office that came through. I mean, we had the London Mayor putting pressure on these sponsors, festival organisers, Jewish community. At the end of the day, it was actually his visa. That was the reason why Kanye West was no longer able to get into the UK.
So it was a decision by the UK government.
Yes, the UK government basically rejected his visa. So the Home Secretary, which is similar to Tony Burke, the Minister for Home Affairs, saying Kanye West's presence in the UK was not conducive to the public good. And that's grounds to actually refuse a visa.
And there's precedence for this because it has happened in Australia. So the Australian government, you just mentioned Tony Burke, he has refused Kanye West's visa to enter Australia. I believe it was right after he released the Hitler song.
Exactly.
And he was due to come to Australia, and the Australian government did the exact same thing. They refused his visa.
And the reason he was coming to Australia was because his partner is Australian. And so it was to visit her family. And Tony Burke at the time said anybody who makes a song with those sorts of lyrics doesn't deserve a trip to Australia. So it is not without precedent. It's actually not even the first time the UK Home Office has banned an artist from entering. So in 2015, they banned Tyler, the Creator, who's another rapper. He was banned from entering the UK under the same provision. And then Home Secretary Theresa May, who went on to become the Prime Minister of the UK, she said that he had made statements that, quote, may foster hatred, which might lead to inter-community violence in the UK. And that was relating to songs that she said glamorized violence. And so it's not the first time, but it's a rare way to reject a visa for the UK Home Office. They're rejecting a visa on these grounds about 15 times a year.
Right.
So super rare. Think of the hundreds of thousands of visas, travel visas, holiday visas, working visas. It's pretty rare.
How has Kanye West responded to this?
So he released that initial statement saying he's willing to meet with the Jewish community. And then when his visa was rejected, he released a much longer statement. And the statement was released via Live Nation, which is the touring company that's actually putting on the festival. I want to read what he said in this. So he said, I've been following the conversation around wireless and want to address it directly. My only goal is to come to London and present a show of change, bringing unity, peace, and love through my music. I would be grateful for the opportunity to meet with members of the Jewish community in the UK in person, to listen. I know words aren't enough. I'll have to show change through my actions. If you're open, I'm here. The Jewish community bodies responded to that saying their original statement of, we're keen to meet with Kanye West. It needs to be not alongside a performance.
Interesting. And he is due to perform in other countries, right, in the coming months?
Yeah. He's got locked in concerts in Turkey, the Netherlands, France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal between the end of May and the beginning of August. I think they're all music festival appearances, not dedicated concerts. But as I said right at the beginning, he's released a new album. And also he had these 2 massive shows in LA with sold out stadiums. So, that's the first live shows he's done in many years. They were, by all reviews of the musical performance, really good. And so it's a very interesting situation where it's clear that Kanye West is trying to re-enter the kind of mainstream culture. He's got a very dark history of statements he needs to now grapple with. We've had an apology. And now it really does seem as though his international travel could be limited by similar actions by governments.
It does go to that ongoing conversation, which I know there was also a similar conversation with Michael Jackson of, can you separate the art from the artist? I know it's semi-different here because some of Kanye West's art has been extremely offensive.
Yeah, he released merch with swastikas on it. So, there is a total blurring of lines here. But yes, it's an ongoing discussion we have with many celebrities, whether they be in, stage or screen. And on this one, I think what's interesting from a news perspective is the way in which governments are intervening and the idea of using travel restrictions against somebody like this is largely unprecedented. We know that, politicians from other countries or sometimes even speakers get banned and have visas refused. It is rare, though, that one of the biggest performing artists in the world enters the headlines in this way.
We will continue to keep a very close eye on what happens, especially with his future performances.
Yeah.
But before we go, this is a change of pace. And it's always hard to transition into a completely new part of the podcast. But I am thinking of introducing a new part of the podcast for all future episodes. I haven't briefed you on this.
This is wild.
This is wild.
Go for it.
Okay, Sam. So in our TDA newsletter, which goes out at 7 a.m. every day, please subscribe.
Yeah.
We do a TDA tidbit.
We do.
And it's very popular because it's kind of a part of the news that the Daily Aus wouldn't.
This is smart. I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a part of the news. It's always hard to explain, but it's something that the Daily Aus wouldn't usually cover, but is kind of a fun thing that's been in the news that is worth a quick mention.
Yeah.
We can cancel this if no one likes it. So please tell us in the comments if you don't like it. On Spotify, you can comment now. Okay. So my favorite tidbit last week that I wanted to quickly bring to the podcast, because we know that the audience is different to the newsletter, is that last week it came out that Meryl Streep is related to Anna Wintour. Meryl Streep, the actress who plays the editor-in-chief of Vogue in the upcoming Devil Wears Prada 2 film, is related to the real-life, now former editor-in-chief of Vogue. Do you know what cousins they are? They are sixth cousins. Oh, sorry. I
Wait,
should
but
have
you've
waited.
buried the lead here. Are you saying that you want to do this at the end of every episode?
Yes.
Cool.
You're still stuck on this being a new segment, but you just have to roll with it.
Rolling.
Okay, and so then Emma, who is our features editor at TDA, who you will be very familiar with on the podcast, she did some digging and looked at what other celebrities are related. I'll go through them very quick.
Oh, this is cool.
Ready?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt and Barack Obama.
No.
They are ninth cousins. Next.
I mean, sorry, can I just pause you there?
Yes.
Surely you're ninth cousins with everyone.
Well, probably.
I mean, this is some kind of Adam and Eve stuff, right?
But it's pretty cool. I mean, you wouldn't want to be dating your ninth cousin, I would say. Okay, next. Ashley
we
Tisdale.
both probably are.
Okay. Ashley Tisdale and Austin Butler. 10th cousins.
I mean.
Okay, just flow with it. Sorry,
I think
just roll with
after
it.
third, fourth, fifth cousins.
And then the last bit is that you're going to love this one. George Clooney and Abraham Lincoln, famously former US president, they are half first cousins 5 times removed.
Wow.
You know what that is, right?
Yeah. Half first cousins 5 times removed. So it kind of goes to the right of the family tree and then down a couple of steps.
I don't think you can, now I think about it, I don't think you can be half. Oh no, you can be half first cousins. But if you're first cousins, you can't be 6. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
What an interesting way to end a podcast.
Thank you, and welcome to the first TDA tidbit in the podcast. I hope that it becomes a future and regular segment of the podcast. So please let us know in the Spotify comments if you are listening on Spotify, or DM us if you are listening on Apple what you think of this segment. Please support me.
Oh God. Okay. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. That's all we have time for. We will be back later today with the evening headlines. But until then, we hope you have a good day.